Hey folks, Carmen here from Urban Farm School. I wanted to continue my conversation through video about how we measure yield in a permaculture garden. So I did a part 1 video that talked about ecosystem health and dynamics and really about excuse me, how we support ecosystem health by supporting our pollinators and how that really represents a fantastic yield in our system. The other component that I'd like to talk about two main things, actually maybe three on this video, of different ways to define yield in a permaculture system. So one way that we can define yield is how healthy our soil systems are. How much life can those soil systems support? Right? These are my cabbages I covered up because we had a big rainstorm just a few minutes ago, and we often get hail. But our soil, we really want to be looking at that as a fantastic metric of success. How well can we support our soil microbial species? What strategies are we taking to do that? And that translates obviously into healthy, nutrient-rich food, which we really love. The other aspect about how we can redefine or define yield in a permaculture system is how much biomass can we produce. So on our property here, we're very lucky. We've got just under a quarter acre in the city, which is pretty generous. But when we look at how much biomass can this land actually support, considering that there's a house on site as well, we look behind me here at these beautiful apple trees, and I'm not even talking about the growing systems that we have in place, but how can we support the production of a significant amount of actual biomass on our property. And one of the big reasons that's super important is that we want to make sure that we can heal the nutrient cycle. So for a long time, this property was really just all grass. So we have this small circle left in our backyard because we sometimes have students gather here, dogs and kids and all kinds of shenanigans. But for the most part, the entire perimeter here is really in the business of producing biomass. Of course, all of these are edible species or support species for those edibles, medicinal species, pollinator support, etc. But what we're really in the business of doing here is producing tons of biomass. And the reason that's important, as I mentioned, is really getting that nutrient cycle humming again. And the only way we can do that is with the production of adequate biomass and the right kinds of biomass. So, of course, lots of nitrogen-fixing species in here. In our urban gardens, we use a lot of this globe carigana here. We've got a ton of comfrey. It's kind of fallen over in the back over there, and we chop and drop that. We've got dynamic accumulators in here, all kinds of nutrient cycling species, but really it comes down to biomass. We look at a natural forest system, we can see the reason that it's able to maintain its levels of fertility over a long period of time is as a result of its ongoing production of biomass. So that's something that we really want to make sure that we're stacking in a lot of plant material that's going to be able to produce enough biomass to support the systems throughout the growing season. Now, we're pretty lucky here. We've got this thing called winter. And the reason I say we're lucky, some people wouldn't call that lucky, but the reason that I call it lucky is because during those winter periods when we've got cold, the soil microbes are less active. And so they're not processing as many of the nutrients in the soil, and also not consuming a ton of organic matter. And so that really helps us out in our area because, we've got a very, very short growing season, and we count on the biomass being produced during that growing season to provide fertility going forward. And if we lived in a place in which we didn't get these cold temperatures, we'd have, constant microbial activity, which would use up that organic matter in the soil incredibly quickly. So that's why I say we're lucky. So those periods of drought, but also of cold, are the things that really slow down the activities of the soil microbes. And it means that we have a good organic matter bank in our soils, which is fantastic. But the production of biomass, the ability to produce just a ton of biomass in our system, is really, really the key to keeping the nutrient cycle humming. And so that I would say, I would call that a considerable yield. Now, the other yield that I'd like to add in to this permaculture definition of what yield is really about the yield of building community. And so we use our urban farm school classes, we use our open yard, eco yard activities here on our property to build community, create community connections. We also have designed our front yard spaces that are in contact with public, the way we have that edge, right? We've got that optimizing of the edge component where the private property meets the public property. That's an area, zone of interaction that we've really tried to optimize on our property, and because it builds community. We've also designed some seating spaces in our front yard that allow us to be out there with our neighbors and to enjoy our community more. And we're always participating in community events. So that concept of yield on our property can be defined in so many ways. Not only in the previous video did I talk about ecosystem health and dynamics when it came to like the pollinators, contributing to a whole ecosystem. We've also got tons of birds here, lots of other insect diversity other than the bees and the pollinators, but lots of beneficial little entities as well. Then our soil microbes, the health of our soil microbes, that's a fantastic yield that should get better and better and better every single year and provide long-term anti-fragility. And then we've got, of course, our production of biomass, lots of biomass, and then our community connections. So it's a really different concept of how we define yield, and I think it's a beautiful demonstration of the wisdom of permaculture design. So thanks, folks, for letting me share this second part 2 video regarding yield and how we define that in a permaculture system. Do take care, folks, and let us know how we can support you in helping you to live more resilient, beautiful, and abundant lives. Take care, folks. Bye-bye.